Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings of peace and prosperity. Good day everyone. I am Omoucalthom Sultan Malambut. And for this video, we will be discussing the areas of difficulty for students with writing problems, the qualities of strong writing instruction, and the adaptations for struggling writers. This is of course under the umbrella of remedial instruction in writing. So before we start discussing these topics, let us define first what is remedial instruction and what is writing. So, remedial instruction is used in an intervention program to target basic skills such as phonics, reading, writing, and number sense with the goal of raising students' ability to the standard expected of their age. That's, of course, to remediate the problem before it becomes worse. Okay, so writing, on the other hand, is the process of using symbols like the letter of the alphabet, the punctuation, and the spaces to communicate thoughts and ideas in a readable form. So, with this, we can say that remedial writing is intended to improve a person's ability to write, or let's say the um, student's ability to write. I've read it once in the internet that the basic premise of remedial instruction is to help students catch up to their peers and thus prevent an ongoing academic issues. So accordingly, once the remedial activities are carefully applied to individuals who have problems in writing, of course, so the expected traits will be developed. Okay, so what are those traits? Okay, so those are self confidence, the motivation, interest in learning, and peer support. Now, let us move on to the areas of difficulty for students with writing problems. Okay, so there are three main areas: the knowledge difficulty, skill difficulty, and motivation difficulty. So, knowledge difficulty. This is concerned on the awareness and knowledge of the students about the subject matter, the genres of writing, and vocabulary. So, the students with writing problems show less awareness about what constitutes good writing and how can it be produced. So, this is the awareness of students about the strong points that they can use to produce an effective output. They often show restricted knowledge about general specific text structures. So we all know that some students sometimes have a limited knowledge about the elements that is needed in writing. It is of course based from specific genre. So like for example, in writing a short story, not all students know the elements like establishing great sequence of a plot, good characterization, setting theme, and more. Next, poor declarative, procedural, and conditional strategy. So some students tend to just write stories or compositions without setting a specific goal. So because of this, the output might be unorganized. So unorganized in a way that sometimes the idea that's suitable for the introduction part of that composition nalagay siya sa body or like sa generalizations of that whole compositions, or let's say the idea that best that suits to the conclusion or the generalization of the composition nalagay siya sa introduction or sa body ng composition, so something like that. Another, limited vocabulary. So limited vocabulary is the reason why some students, or let's say some aspiring writers, cannot express themselves properly because they cannot say what they have in mind. It is of course maybe they don't know the word to use, the appropriate words to use to express their ideas. They also show underdeveloped knowledge of words and sentence structure. So there are students who lack knowledge about the basic structure of language. For example, the morphology that is constrained with the study of words, including the usage of affixes and transforming words, the phonology, which is the study of speech sound, and we also have the syntax that governs the organizations of words to create a meaningful sentence. Also, they also show impoverished, fragment, and poorly organized topic knowledge. So let's say students have lots of ideas about the subject matter. So usually, when the students were asked are asked to write and they have so much ideas about that specific topic, they are very much excited. They got excited. So, but there are times that it becomes overwhelming, that their minds having a hard time classifying and organizing these ideas, so that this result to somewhat messy or something like nakakalito yung compositions since their ideas are all over the place. So sabi ko nga kanina, it becomes somewhat unorganized or messy. Okay, students with knowledge difficulty in writing shows difficulty accessing existing topic knowledge. So it is more on assessing the prior knowledge or ideas about the subject matter. So if the students have a difficulty in accessing the existing knowledge, then they cannot delimit the ideas, and they cannot be sure if what they're going to include in their writing is relevant to the topic. So another area of difficulty for students with writing problems is the skill difficulty. So this is more on underwriting skills of the students, including grammar. So students with writing problems often do not plan before or during writing. So students often do not plan before or during writing. So the process of writing, which includes the pre-writing, researching, drafting, revising, and proofreading, is often not used by the students. Most of the times, they instantly proceed with actual writing without conceptualizing the points that they need to tackle or include in their writing. They also exhibit poor text transcription. So this is about the spelling, the handwriting, and the usage of punctuations in writing. They do not analyze or reflect on writing. They have limited ability to self-regulate thoughts, feelings, and actions throughout the writing process. They show poor attention and concentration, and they have visual motor integration weaknesses and fine motor difficulties. So the last area of difficulty for students with writing problems is the motivation difficulty. So this area focuses on the attitude and other external factor that affects the students. So students with writing problems often do not develop writing goals and sub-goals or flexibly alter them to meet the audience, task, and personal demands. They fail to balance performance goals, which relate to documenting performance and achieving success, and mastery goals, which relate to acquiring competence. They exhibit maladaptive attributions by attributing academic success to external and uncontrollable factors for such as task ease or teacher assistance, but academic failure to internal yet uncontrollable factors such as limited aptitude. They have negative self-efficacy, or let's say or competency beliefs. They lack persistence and feel helpless and poorly motivated due to repeated failure. Okay, so to assess the difficulty of students in writing, there is a need of strong writing instruction. So let's proceed to the qualities of strong writing instruction. First, quality. Students should have meaningful writing experiences and be assigned authentic writing tasks that promote personal and collective expression, reflection, inquiry, discovery, and social change. So students should experience actual writing like essays, the editorial writing, journal writing, research, and other writing. Maybe they can also try speech writing. Okay, second, routines should permit students to become comfortable with the writing process and move through the process over a sustained period of time at their own rate. So, writing sometimes can be so exhausting. So, the teacher or the instructor let should let the students write on their own pace and at their own time. I'm not saying that um, you'll give them the whole year to um, write a composition. I what I'm saying is that you should, as an educator, you should give them time to think about their context and let them enjoy writing without rushing them. So that way, they can um, write comfortably, and they can have a satisfying result, hopefully. Next, lesson should be designed to help students master craft elements. That's the text structure, the character development, the writing skills like spelling and punctuation, and process strategies. An example is the planning and revising tactics. Lastly, a common language for shared expectations and feedback regarding writing quality might include the use of traits. For example, the organization, ideas, the sentence fluency, word choice, voice, and convention. So all of these components must be thoughtfully coordinated to form a comprehensive writing programs for students. Student writers often struggle because they lack connections with the assignment or an authentic audience. So, according to the data from the National Center for Educational Statistics, 4 out of 5 students are not proficient writers. So, those stats in the classroom, only 5 out of a class of 35 students were proficient writers and did not need any further assistance. So, can you imagine a class of 35 students? There are only 5 to 7 students who are proficient writers. So, how about the rest? How about the remaining 28 students? Can they write? I mean, um, can they be a proficient writers? So, how can we help those students who struggle in writing? So, here are the adaptations for struggling writers using CARES. CARES, C is for change the learning environment accommodations. So, by doing so, the um, teacher can increase, can let's say she can increase instructional time for writing. She can provide quiet and comfortable spaces for students to work. She can also provide unimpeded access to writing tools. He or she can let students identify and select meaningful reinforcements for achieving writing goals. For example, a reinforcement menu. And the teacher can also consult with an occupational therapist to identify specialized adaptations, like, for example, the chair or desk height. A is for adapt the instructional materials accommodations. So the teacher can simplify language of writing prompts. She can highlight the keywords and phrases, or let's say she can color code those keywords and the important phrases, transition from simple to a more elaborate graphic organizers and procedural checklists, post strategist graphic organizers and checklists in classroom, and and give students personal copies. He or she can develop individualized spelling lists, have students to keep a personal dictionary of demon words and frequently used spelling vocabulary. These demon words, I mean the what I mean in this demon words is the unfamiliar words. Okay, so the teacher also can provide paper positioning marks on students' desk. She can provide pencil grips for students, erased or colored line paper, and provide students with personal copies of alphabet strips. R is for revise your teaching strategies, accommodations. So the teacher can devote more instructional time to writing mechanics. He or she can provide physical assistance during handwriting practice, reteach writing skills and strategies. He or she can expect and support mastery learning of skills and strategies like memorization of strategy steps. He or she can use cross-age peer tutors to reinforce skills and strategies, assign homeworks designed to reinforce writing instruction, and help students set a specific and challenging yet attainable goals for writing process. Like for example, completing a planning sheet before beginning to draft, and written products, of course, like the quantity goal of including 10 descriptive words in a story, which is perhaps linked to a quality goal of improving word choice by 2 points in an analytic quality scale. This teacher can also help students develop self instructions, like for example giving instruction, I can handle this if I go slow, or the self questions like, am I following my plan? That focus on, of course, that's focus on a positive attributions for success and task progress. The teacher can also teach students to evaluate and adjust their writing behaviors and writing strategy use to improve their writing productivity and performance, and he or she can also promote maintenance and generalization of writing strategies. Okay, so next is E for exchange task demands modifications. So the teacher can increase the amount of time allotted for completing writing assignments or written assignments. He or she can decrease the length and or complexity of written assignments, have students complete text frames like partially finished texts, reduce or eliminate copying demands like teach students abbreviation for note taking, supply worksheets with math problems from textbook. He or she also can allow students to use temporary or invented spelling. Of course, that's for note taking. They pre-teach spelling vocabulary for assignments. He or she can evaluate spelling using correct letters sequences, like hopping has 8 possible correct letters sequence, rather than number of words spelled correctly to measure and reward incremental progress attribute to partial correct spelling. The teacher also can permit students to dictate written works to scribe. So if the students have adequately developed keyboarding skills, the teacher can permit them to write papers with a word processor like the Microsoft Words or WPS. The teacher also can permit students to use outlining and semantic mapping software to facilitate planning. Uh, he can also permit students to use voice recognition technology to facilitate text transcription like the right, Google Mic. You can grade assignment based on the amount of improvement rather than absolute performance. And of course, she can assign grades for body of work collected over time, like portfolio assessment, rather than for each paper. And they can provide feedback on content, organization, style, and convention for some rather than all assignments, which may reduce students' anxiety about writing rather. And lastly, S for substitute learning task for PLOP modification. So the teacher can permit students to dramatize or orally present a written assignment either in lieu of writing or in preparation for writing, and assign students suitable roles like a brainstorm manager or any suitable role for the creation of a group generated paper. To note that these accommodations and modifications possesses face validity, but many of them have not been empirically validated for struggling writers. Okay, so I am Omoucalthom Sultan Malambut. Thank you for listening.